Ready? Aim!
There's too many!
Anyone see my mammoth?
Stubby!
Hello! We are back for another week. I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah. It's been a while. Weeks. Just happened. Well, some stuff has happened in that time. But yeah, we'll dive into some things. We'll go through kind of some of the news and everything that we've got in the last few months. Kind of summarising all for people who don't remember, for people who do remember, all that stuff. We've got a load of other stuff to little touch on as well, including some like personal gripes, I think might be the best term, but a personal request, I might say, going out there to those of you watching. And yeah, it's generally a bit of a roundup of 2023, I think, because 2023 is now over, right? Like, basically, it's there is not gonna be any major things going on between now and Christmas, which is, of course, only 7 days away, next Monday. And before anyone asks, no, there is not going to be a show on Christmas Day. First of all, if I did that, I'm 90% sure my partner would murder me. And second of all, I'm pretty sure that no one would watch it live because, you know, spending time with family, friends, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, that would be very crazy. So yeah, that's next week. The week after is New Year's, isn't it? So unlikely. We'll see. All right then. So I mean, the first thing to tackle is we've now had official confirmation from CMON themselves in an article saying that Umber Ravagers, Giant Spear Throwers, Stony Shore Pillagers, and Baratheon Halberdiers are all coming round the corner in early 2024. We will see exactly what day, we will see exactly when. I think quoted dates are something like the 4th of January. For some people have said the 4th of January, I'm pretty sure, but like, we'll see, right? We will see. Renders, everything, nothing here is particularly new in terms of like, have we seen it before? We have seen the whole box before. Requests denied, please, HR. I have to spend time with my unpainted minute. Yeah, don't we all? I've had plenty of them sat here, and for the last 2 weeks I've been like, oh, I'll paint that, and then I just haven't, and then, oh, I'll paint that, and I just haven't. I haven't got the motivation currently to paint, which is a bit of a shame. No, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, you know, we don't have motivation all the time. All right then. So yeah, that's that. Halberdiers we've seen, Stony Shore Pillagers we've seen, and of course the Sunset Sea Brave, with the axe in the air, and torch. That's also been seen as the attachment for the box, and Giant Spear Throwers have been seen. We have not seen Umber Ravagers, but it would not surprise me that we could probably literally guess their stat lines, right? Let's actually dive in. I will quickly put, for want of a better term, a formal guess. Oh, they say. But Mickey, how could you possibly guess? How could you possibly read into the mind of CMON and guess at what's coming down the line? Oh, right. Let's go to what suitable. Lights of Casserock's not. Let's use Brigands. Actually, they're a Stark unit. Let's use Outriders. There you go. They will be, I think, movement 6 is fine. I reckon they are going to be a classic Umber 6/8, I reckon. and I reckon they'll go for a 3+. I'm going to say 5+ on this, and 5+ on the morale, as always seems to be the case. Let's scrap this. They're not going to have that. They're going to have the cavalry, and they're going to have... What's the current name? It's Berserker Axes. Let's have a look. Berserker Axes. Just, yeah. Right, +1 to hit for each of the units destroyed. Okay. Okay. I'll make sure to bold the right bit, because how does he do it? Yeah. That's the code. Oops, I need to bold the whole thing, don't I? That's stupid. It's not capitalized, is it? I know, I'm spending a long time. They don't even... I'm gonna go for that. There you go. Just go for that, and we'll call it, what should we call it? Call it Berserker Axes. That is what it should be called. There we go. So I reckon it will look something a little bit like that. There may be another ability. We could go for something like... trying to think. Don't spend longer on your QC than Simon does, says Nathan. I know, right? I would probably say that that's about right. Like, I legit mean that this could well be. They might have unyielding as well. Should we put it in? We'll put it in. Suffers what -1 to hit for each. This unit suffers -1. Failing. Yeah, this unit suffers -1 from fail panic checks for each. Destroy round, sorry, for each. It's there we go, full stop. And that's not going to have a symbol. Bang, done. There you go. I reckon this will basically be what they even called Umber Ravagers. I don't think they will have unyielding because it's a cavalry. No, why not? Why not? They could have it. They could just have Iron Resolve base, which is possible. But yeah, that's what I imagine they'll look like. And I before anyone says, oh, what price point do you think I see them coming in at? 7 points. I reckon 7 points for that unit, and I reckon it'll be fine. They may have some other stuff as well going on for them, but I reckon it looks something like this. You're potentially going to take them as grind cavalry. They may have base sundering, but I think unlikely, to be honest. And yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be a unit you probably take. It's probably like okay for you because you can't just have cavalry running around with no wounds, or limited wounds. It allows you to use a lot of those cards on them on the initial strikes. Makes them hit kind of hard when they're running around like spoons. Makes them actually quite dangerous for certain things to charge into and do damage first. But yeah, maybe something like Crit Blow. Yeah, maybe. Imposter, maybe. Fine, but kind of boring. Yeah. Yes, Willy Bunks. It is. I just don't see it being that interesting. Um, the description. Dive into it. House Umber Ravagers will come marching in. Ravagers aren't as heavily armored as some cavalry. Read, not a 3+. But they strike with unbridled fury. Well, that doesn't really mean anything. They're fast, efficient, and resilient. Brilliant. Fast, movement 6. Efficient, no idea what they're going for with efficient. And resilient probably means a decent morale. Perfect troops to the north excel in leading the charge with merciless strokes, especially against. They may get +1 hit for each rank an infantry unit has. Maybe. I don't know. Very formulaic, not very creative. Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think it will be that creative. I could easily see this ability trading out for something like. Let's just use the name that they give. +1 hit for each rank in the enemy unit. Actually, I mean, is it unreasonable? Is it unreasonable? Have deadly impact. Is it unreasonable? Have deadly impact from the chariots. When charging, gain sundering. When charging, this unit gains sundering and vicious, and +1 hit for each, and deals +1 hit for each of the defender's remaining rounds. I think this is actually suddenly. This is suddenly something that you might be interested in. I reckon. Hmm. Type, clearly. Hmm. Deadly Impact makes them pretty good. I don't think they'll have that attack profile though if they have Deadly Impact. I think they will, Dustin. Maybe an 6-7 rather than 6-8. Means if they get low, they suddenly become quite dangerous. They're still coming in at 7 points. But this is very similar to a chariot at this point. I can see this being basically the though. And again, I'm like, not that. I don't think it's that creative. Like, I don't know. And I know I'm using abilities off other stuff as like as an argument to say what they might have. And I know that arguably me being uncreative and saying that it's going to have existing abilities is kind of like part of the problem, right? But I think that's kind of my point, is that I don't think it will have interesting new stuff we haven't seen before. I think it will probably have abilities that we've seen before. Because I believe that that's what Simon's doing at the moment. There are very few new abilities actually being printed. Especially for unit, right? Units haven't changed much in terms of abilities. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon either. Giants were carbon copies of scorpions, basically. Halberdiers were just torn and sundering, like, yeah. Stoneshore Pillagers have, okay, New Order. The Stoneshore Pillagers technically are the newest, a completely newest ability, and Evil Sponge is right, apart from that, Gold Cloaks. So yeah, we'll see. We will see, obviously. I didn't mean this to turn into a long talk about Ravagers and necessarily predicting fully, but that's what I can see kind of being as an option there. And yeah, I I think they'll be interesting. I don't know if Tully Cavalier will get dropped in favor of Ravagers in Stark lists. I fully expect, by the way, Ravagers to come in at 7 points. I think it would be ridiculous to release them at 8 or 6, given that there are already cavalry options in those slots. Booze King says, for the love of God, just make House Aaron and the Brotherhood without banners factions. Yep. Aloha. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. More factions. But, we'll wait and see, I guess. That was the first thing I wanted to talk about or mention, because they've mentioned it, right? They've put out something that is ahead of the news, I guess, or the releases. So this is the first article that is hit the ground running, and it's a proactive thing, right? It's a positive. This kind of hit at the right time before they were released, but actually it didn't. It is worth remembering this hit actually technically before the release date, but it was after Neutral Heroes Box 3 had actually been in people's hands. This is awkward because I believe Halberdiers may or may not have been bought by people, but like the rest I don't think are actually out yet, so that's reasonable. They're getting better. Look, we've got to see that there's a post in November the 8th, post on November the 23rd, December the 14th, November the 1st. September was a bit before then, but like that's 4 posts in 2 months. I'm not saying that is amazing. I'm not saying it's brilliant, but I am saying it is now a level of consistency. I've said this before. 4 posts in 2 months, sorry, is a positive sign. I really hope they can keep that level up as like a just a small, keep that level of growth in the posting, because posting, remember, is advertising the game, and advertising the game is ultimately what brings new players in and brings more to the hobby. So this is important. But yeah, it's good. I'm glad this is here. I'm glad that they've done this article ahead of the releases. They also have announced, and this is arguably a bigger announcement. But this is just my, I say prediction. This is just my feeling on it, right? The other announcement that was made was that they've announced the US National Championships, right? Let's load up this post quickly. Okay. So this post went up on the Facebook group. There we go. And they're saying it's going to be in Game Center again, Game Center, however you want to pronounce it. In Roseville, Minnesota, the 18th to the 20th of October. More information and further details will be announced in early 2024 as they approach the regional competitive season, which they call March to July in 2024 as well. John White says, if they post any more frequently, they'll have to employ someone. I know, right? How awful would that be? But yeah, so they have announced US national champions, and they have announced it for the 18th, 20th of October, which is obviously a long time. That is a 10-month warning period. Technically 10 months and 3 days. That's good. Like, that's actually good. This is the first time where CMON have announced something well in advance. They've given us the dates well in advance, and it makes planning for this year a little bit easier. They've even told us where it's going to be, the exact dates. Obviously, we don't know anything this year about CMON's regional competitive structure, but let's predict for a moment that it will be the same as last year's. Cool. You know, if we were to just take, like, this next season is going to be a direct repeat of the previous season, but with more information, more warning, and hopefully some better communication. In for the US, this is brilliant. Yeah. I love it for the US. US is worth remembering are still the only CMON run actual events. They've been giving more support in terms of prize support and things like that out to Europe more recently, general better communication, but it's still slow going. Still not getting there in the way that we'd hoped, but it is improving. So I think, we're talking about 2024 and what we're kind of looking forward to. Hopefully we can look forward to more of this, is CMON getting it right, and are we going to see an improved competitive structure for 2024 in the US, and thus a better, hopefully, improved structure across Europe as well? Don't know. We will see. We have not heard anything about the Realms of Battles. There was obviously the Asia event that was run, but there's been no further mention of the European version of this. Of course, this was all supposed to be being rolled out as well. We will see if and when that runs and what that looks like if and when it gets announced. Competitive A Song of Ice and Fire is my next thing. It's difficult. It's difficult because I've never thought I'm not someone who has agreed with every patch that's ever taken place. I hope people agree that I've often been someone who sits there and goes, do we really need a patch? Or, we're in a good state of the game, is a patch required? Certainly in Season 2, I didn't think Season 2 was that long, and it felt like people already wanted a patch very quickly. We do need a patch now, though. And we need a patch. When I say we need it now, I don't mean like right now we need a patch. But the competitive scene needs a patch or something changing. Because unfortunately, competitive games have become a little stale. That's not to say the meta is solved. That's not really true. But there's no ingenuity, right? No one is coming up with really interesting, actual functional things. It's like, here's my slight different variation on a Kevin list, or here's my slight different variation on a Great John or Eddard list, or here's my slight different variation on a this list. And I just think that there's nothing new and interesting actually being shown. Not fully. And when I say nothing new or interesting with actual solid backing as to how it would work. People aren't imagining the game in new and different ways and bringing to the table lists that are different, that offer something different, but in a core way that makes them still function in the way that we know. How many lists do people see and it's like, oh, but this play around like Bloody Mama skirmishers, and it's like, yeah, okay, but they're bad units. And unless you're really thinking of doing something amazing, you're not going to better use them in the way that you want to, and like they're fundamentally flawed. But like, why couldn't we do that with other things? Mikkel kind of sums it up. Here's my 3 Tullys. Yeah, here's my Tully Cavaliers. You know, really cool, really interesting. Just it's not fun to see that all the time. And I'm not saying it's not fun to play against. Like, it doesn't bother me playing against it that much. I think it bothers me just seeing it. Like, I just look at people's lists when I go into games now, and I'm like, sure, it's this again. Sure, it's this again. And like, yeah, I don't know. Some of the scenarios suck, and there are too few of them. Yeah, John, I can agree there. There does need to be a few more changes in the scenarios. Game modes could change, and I think that would be the biggest thing that Simon could do to really freshen the game up. Is have a look at some of the game modes and change them. We know that supposedly there's a change coming to Fire and Blood, but we still haven't seen that yet. Hopefully, when the new competitive season starts off. Interesting that they called the competitive season March to July, implying that there's going to be something happening between January and February, right? Because why on earth would the regionals competitive season start in March when LVO, which I believe has been a regionals in previous years, in January, right? Like there is actually method in the madness, if you will. Surely LVO would be your start of your regional season from Simon's perspective, and if it is, then Simon would start that season in January, not March. So that implies to me that the competitive season is going to be receiving something in January/February, which wouldn't be a surprise. Rumors are something patch-wise is coming February. We don't know. I certainly don't know, but that is the rumors at the moment. So there, 2024, we're going to see a bunch of units released, and we're going to see a patch, probably February 2024 is best guess. We will see. We will see. I don't think anyone saw Greyjoy Power in advance when the patch launched. So the problem post is that I don't think Greyjoys are strong, right? There's a big problem, right? There is a big problem saying Greyjoys are strong because they are. They functionally have a high LO, right? That means they're strong. But like, I don't think Greyjoys as a faction are that good. I still don't think it. And I know Greyjoys have been performing well. I know people have been doing well with them. But like, they just don't have any major redeeming qualities about the faction itself. What they have is they have very strong things. And as Crone says in chat, Balon and Silence Men are basically what is winning them games, right? I mean, just this is what I see when I see them. I see that we've got like the 9 activation builds of 6-3 has very few games, but it's winning 65%, 6.5, 5.5% of the time. Again, 29 games in total. Probably not a huge amount there, but like 9 activation, 5-4, 11 games. Who cares? It's like so low. But most people are playing 7 and 8 activations, and they've got a 52.7% win rate and a 51% win rate. They are for season 3 coming out as a 51.86 win rate. It's not that high. Like, it really isn't that high. They are winning more games, sure. They are strong in their own ways, in some ways, sure. But like, if you know how to beat Balon and you know how to beat Silence Men and those things, how to position against them, how to ensure your opponent can't get the value out of them that they want to get out of them, the game becomes a lot easier. And I will add though that like good players are more likely going to get value out of them, right? Because I was talking about like how you beat it is you learn how to do this. Well, it's like a skill cap moment, I guess, in that I believe that Greyjoy is with Balon and Silence Men and the respawning and all this charging and stuff, like that makes them a better faction because people don't know how to beat that thing. It then gets played a lot by decent players. I say decent, like anyone who's like half decent at the game is playing that and winning with it because the opponents don't know how to beat it. When their opponent gets decent, they start coming up with ways to beat it and understand how to beat it. And so they do. But actually, it's not until you get really, really good when it's like, okay, yeah, but you're gonna do this, and it's incredibly beatable. Like, it actually has some really grounding flaws that can be beaten. And if I know what to do to beat those things, I think you're going to really struggle. Because there isn't really a second option. There isn't really an alternative. And that is kind of the problem. Mikel says, they are strong, Mickey. Clearly, yeah, really strong. Regionals is separate from other qualifiers, but naming a time limit weird. Yeah, I agree, Carl. Silence Men are artificially inflating their ELO. I wouldn't call it artificially. But yeah, they are. They are. A lot of factions struggle with dealing with the return mechanic. Yeah, a lot of factions do. I wouldn't say actually factions. I think that's not true. I think people don't consider how the return ability is going to impact the way they have to spend resources and how it impacts their positioning. So I think a lot of people don't think about that. And so it's more of a problem for them, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah, factional balance internally seems to be pretty poor. The difference between best stuff and everything else seems pretty steep. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think that's entirely true as well, Post. I think that there are stuff that's good in every faction. I think there's then a class of like, yeah, that's okay. Like, there's stuff that the C's play, and I would expect to keep seeing play in each faction. But generally speaking, is not like bustedly strong either. It's just decent, just good. And then you've got a few things in each faction which is like dog tier, which is just like, don't take this. This isn't worth the effort. Try and make good. And it's actually that stuff that I really want to see people making good, but I feel like you almost can't. Right? On one hand, I'm like saying, God, I've just seen a bunch of Tully Cavalists, but on the other hand, I'm also kind of like, someone please make, I don't know, start Berserkers better again because I want to see them. I want to see them see play. But yeah, I don't know. Winning with one more busted combo doesn't mean they're in a good place. A lot of their units and cards are still bad. Yeah, their deck is pretty sad. Still, I hate their deck. It's funny because like I look at the way they play, and I know exactly what to do and exactly how the combos work, and I get it. I just look at them and I think, if someone is a good player, I know how to beat this. Like, this is so beatable, it's unreal. Because everything's telegraphed. Like, everything's telegraphed. Which is why I hate it. But yeah. I sound like a moany crybaby today. Don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. Just not my thing. I don't think they're that good. Not really. They're okay, but they're not that good. Personally, like, sure, that has them at 42. Like, I would consider Free Folk a faction that I can like straight away. Free Folk, 60% win rate at 10 activations and 53% win rate at 9. But like the number of games they're being played here is less than the total number of games Greyjoys had at 7. So yeah, people playing 7 too as well. I would consider Free Folk still good. Maybe it's just Greyjoys, Free Folk, and Starks then. The list seems identical each time. But so the Kevin lists. I say Kevin, sorry, Lannister. They're all basically the same. And that's not a criticism. I'm not blaming the players by any stretch. It's the lack of creativity in the game. The game at the moment is not fostering positive creativity really in the way that we want it to across every faction in the game and everything else. Um, it's I can't say it's stale because it's not really that stale, but it's just a bit meh. I think would be the best way of saying. For me anyway. But also, right, and here's actually another topic I wanted to touch on in 2023. And it is to do with players, actually. I've been talking about this on and off recently in games I play online and with other people. Well, but as we can see, like the bell curve of the player rating is getting better. You know, there's more 1900s now than there ever were. We're moving into the point where the top people, I've not broken Mikel's top end record yet, which is 2155. But we are getting to the point where, you know, 2200 is definitely attainable and definitely something that someone will reach. And it's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable at all. But for reference, you know, 2200 puts that player at 200 points above someone at 2000, you know, which is very few and far between. As it currently stands, you know, you only have to look down to what is kind of down here, 16th, 17th, 18th position, where my ELO is by no means the highest ELO, as I say. Mikel's at 2155, been higher. Like 200 points above, 200 points above 16th, which means they have a 75% win rate chance against 16th best player in the world, which is kind of nuts. Now, the reason I mention this, the reason I bring this actually up, I don't necessarily think that's true, but also the game as a whole, ELO is spreading. Got nearly, I think it's 6,000 people with games recorded now. But I will say there are a lot of people here. Yeah. Even if we just took like 1800 as a cross-off point, where are we? 1800. I'll use Dan. You know, top 90 players in the world, say. Top 91 players in the world. And actually, one of the things I would ask, how many of those players are genuinely very creative? And I don't mean with their lists. I don't want you to think I mean their lists either. I mean, how many of them are creative players? And this is what I want you to think about as a player of this game, is how much creativity do you bring to the board? And there is obviously there's the chance of 1,000 typewriters, 1,000 monkeys, 1,000 typewriters moment where you can be creative by just doing crazy things. But that's not really what I meant, or what I mean. How many people are being creative with the ways they win games? How many people are being creative with what it is their opponent's going to do, right? And this is kind of a challenge I want people to. I basically am setting people watching this to think about, and then, you know, in January, February next year, hopefully you can play it out some more. But how many people are thinking about what's going to happen in the game 2 or 3 rounds in advance? And if you're not, I want you to try start doing it. I want you to try and start to predict what is going to happen. But I also want you to try and start to read what is in your opponent's hand. Obviously, that doesn't mean get up and take their cards and read it, but actually guess. You know, have accurate guesses as to what is going on with their hand of cards. What cards do they have based on the plays they are making? And based on the plays they're making and the moves they're making and all of this, that, and the other, what is going to happen? So, for reference, I played a game against Diego, which is why I thought it was interesting to bring this up briefly. He like 18. No, where is he? Far off. Diego, yeah, 1946, right? I played a game against Diego, and he was playing Starks, a Jockin list, a completely experimental one, and I was playing a neutral list, Ramsey, list I've played before, feel very happy with. Oh, Valimor, I don't even know all the cards that exist. Well, there you go. There's step number one. Obviously, I'm not expecting everyone to know everything. That's fine. But I want you to start thinking about that side of it, because I think that's a good way of getting better, and also more creative. But I played a game against Diego, and it's double Tully Cavalier list, right? Jockin, Weeper, and whatever, or Widower, sorry. But actually, the main reason I want to talk about this was mostly that he played the list kind of exactly how I expected him to play the list a little bit. Maybe he was a little bit less aggressive. But I knew that, right? I knew that was going to happen. As a result, I knew what was going to happen if I just didn't do anything. So I did something. It was risky, but it was better than doing nothing, because if I'd have not done it, the same thing would have happened anyway, right? That's basically the moral of the story. Is I took a small risk, because if I let him do his thing, it's a greater risk in the end. And it made me go to think about it, and it made me think about the whole process, the whole aspect of playing the game, and actually think about how many people take risks. How many people take these small risks in the early game because they know that the payoff is there? Or do they take these big risks in the mid game? They say, oh, I didn't delete you with my Tully Cavaliers, and I'm like, yeah, you didn't. Because actually your odds of doing aren't that high. How many people take those mid game risks rather than those early game risks? And how many people know what is going to happen, so choose not that to choose? They make the active choice of not that thing happening, and that's, to put it in simplest terms, if you are going first on round 2, going second on round 1, you know your opponent, or you should know your opponent is going to set up or execute a end of round 2 charge into a start of round 3 swords, or they're going to do a maneuver into a round 3 start the round with a charge off the tactics board. Unless they've got some kind of ranged type force where they're going to be doing shots at you. Most of the time they can be doing that in round 2, so it's unlikely that round 3 is where they're going to be setting up for that. But if you can know your opponent is going to be setting up for these big decimating charges in round 3, or the end of round 2, be proactive about it, right? You know this is coming. And the thing is, your opponent knows it's coming as well. You're both decent players. You both know that this is a timing window that's very commonly used by players to exploit. So don't let them exploit it. Do something that throws a cat amongst the pigeons before that point. And if you want to do that, if that's something that you want to do, that's something you want to actually encourage, then run lists that allow you to do it and play the game that allows you to throw the cat among the pigeons earlier. And I'm not talking about weakened tokens. Oh, I weakened his cavalry, so that's fine. I'm like, yeah, but what else did you do? You knew you were going to get charged, so did you just march 10 inches at him because at least then he's forced to charge over the terrain that doesn't give you rerolls? Or did you fanny about with a 5-inch maneuver to the side that either way is still going to charge you, and you've not really improved your position? You've not gained any more space on the board. What did you do about the thing that you know is going to happen. So yeah, I just want people to think about that. I want people to look ahead, think about what timings and things people are going to do, and start to counter it. Counter it before it happens. The best way to beat a strategy is to beat it before the strategy happens. Yeah, give them a flank charge, but make them take it over stakes. Yeah, why not? Why the hell not, Kurt? Yeah. You know, there are options. There are always things you can do to mix it up. And that's what I want people to think about. How can you mix it up? Not just in list building, but actually in playing the game. Sometimes you run a giant list and your opponent's in 6 inches. And so you go to roll a 6 and you roll a 6. But who cares if you fail the charge? Because you'll probably take 2 wounds from the panic test. Well, you may take 2 wounds from a failed panic test. And if you do, that just makes you hit harder on the next round. Who cares? Go for it. See, it's stuff like that. Stuff like that it's just worth thinking about. And I think it's that stuff. It's ironic, right? It's ironic because that's the kind of stuff that a new player or dare I say a bad player might go for every game. They'll go, I'm going to take that 6-up charge. I'm going to take that 6-up charge. I'm going to take that 6-up charge. And they fail the vast majority of them. And they lose games because of it, because they're constantly taking these big risks that aren't rewarded. But occasionally that big risk isn't a big risk, it's a small risk. And it can be taken. And then these, and sometimes these players also just roll 6s. And they hit these charges and they're like, way, let's go! But it's not a conducive way to winning games because they're just doing it all the time, rather than doing it in a measured way when the time calls for you to take risks. Just a thought, food for thought I want to throw out there that people can think about and hopefully execute in their games. Because I think a lot of good players play formulaically. Like so formulaically, it's unreal how easy it is to predict people as to what they're going to do. Because it's always the same, right? It's always the same. So yeah, just something to think about. Maybe I'm ranting on about something random. But yeah. Did Carlo quit the video streams? Gherkin, not really. Carlo hasn't completely quit the live streams at all. But he very much has other things that he can do in this time. There's also genuine truth is that Carlo and I struggle to talk about the game with each other in a positive way. That's not to say that we can't. I mean, we had 2 gaming days over the weekend, and did speak about it multiple times there. But it's not that we can't. It's just that we don't. It's yeah. We do discuss it. We talk to each other, weekly basis still. But it's not conducive necessarily to good live stream content. And he's got better things to do, like working on the site and doing other stuff. So yeah, he's still around. If I asked him, he would come on with topics, but on the average episode, no, he's not going to be attending unless I ask. So yeah, but that's fine. I mean, apart from that, he's fine. He's it's interesting. I've spoken to him over the weekend. He's a little bit disillusioned, but not by the game, right? He's a bit disillusioned by Simon still. He's disillusioned by boring. He literally said to me the other day, "Is the game boring? Isn't the game just boring?" And that's not to say that the game design is boring. But but essentially he thinks that because of the burstiness of the old like 1.6 faction decks was taken away and the game was kind of simplified down for 2021 in terms of the way things interacted and the burst nature of the game, and to put it bluntly, there's less opportunity to make plays. The game as it currently stands is quite formulaic. It's quite procedural because there's less opportunity to make these big flashy plays in Song at the moment. That's not to say you can't, but the limit of doing so isn't there. Gone are the days of swift advancing an infantry unit forward into then pulling a charge off with a +6 automatic. So charging from this unit facing this way suddenly did like an 18-inch charge over that way, out of nowhere, and like gone are the days of that happening. It's very more of a style of line up and fight. People like that, people don't like that. That's not to say it's fully line up and fight either. I still don't think that's a good strategy. But yeah, the game is in a position, unfortunately, which fosters a relatively straightforward and simple play style. New game modes would definitely support that. Growth, change, improving some of the tactics cards in decks, and I mean all decks, just making them more impactful. They just do more would probably be a very good start. Rather than having the decks feel like a subsidiary to your units and army. We don't want the power decks or the imbalance of the power decks of the old Swift Advance versus non-Swift Advance factions. Old Baratheon versus old Stark, for example. But like even Baratheons had impactful cards of interesting plays, such as the old Stag's Resilience with the heal D3+1 if you control letters, deal that many wounds to an engaged enemy unit, which is pretty strong. So yeah, like those kinds of things have been removed, and it's dulled the game. I won't say it's dumbed the game down. I won't say it's done anything bad per se, but it's dulled it down. It's made it slightly less boom, 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 flashy. Birkin, you'd be lucky. Very unlikely at this time. We'll see. But yeah, there's just food for thought from me today around kind of like the predictable nature of games, I think. I don't know. Oh, we will see. All right, let's have a little mid rant break. I have got something to show you guys. I've got a few things to show you guys actually. First of all, is this absolutely lovely piece of work. Look at that. That is a wolf's head on a stake. This was done up by the Hedge Knights. I sent these across to me to show you guys. Lovely miniature. This is a fortune seeker, or is using the model as a fortune seeker, and hopefully for his Boltons. So should Boltons get access to neutrals, this will be a fortune seeker that he uses in his Bolton army, which I think is cool. Yeah. King of the North. Yes. Damn, nice. We love a mid-rant break. Yeah. King of the North. Yeah, lovely. Absolutely lovely model. There's the other side of it as well, including Dead Stark, of course, around there. I mean, there's two things about this. First of all, I personally really think I've recently seen a model that has made me think twice about that. in case people haven't seen, I will show you this model. This is genuinely one of the nicest models that I've ever seen of a horse. Yeah, horse models, right? Simon do really nice horse sculpts, right? They capture the musculature, the kind of, they just really do it well. Simon horses from certainly any of the newer stuff as well, really nice. The Targ stuff's lovely. Do a really nice job. If you haven't seen, and there isn't a good one here, unfortunately, there is a lovely, lovely. Here it is. No, it's not that one. There is an absolutely phenomenal model of Odin riding Sleipnir from Mythic Battles Pantheon, right? Not Pantheon, Ragnarok. If you haven't seen it, it is brilliant, and I mean genuinely brilliant model. I'll try and find it. I can't find a quick one version of it. Actually, I can find it. This is a painted one. This is from Monolith Games themselves, actually. Nice. This is a lovely model, right? Lovely model. And this has been painted up very well. But the horse, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant model. Odin himself, fantastic as well. But they've absolutely nailed Sleipnir, and you actually get the extra legs as well. They're all there, and it's brilliant. But that's my point, right? This painting on this horse, the sculpt. I like the horse sculpts. I think this is a good painting of the horse. Like, this is someone who's taken a good sculpt and painted it very well, in my opinion. So yeah, it's really nice. Blood, obviously, as well from the front. Take that, Rohan. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of some of the Riders of Rohirrim are quite nice, but the early Riders of the Rohirrim, way back when I played Battle for Middle Earth, many moons ago, when it first got released, basically, they weren't that good. They weren't nice. But yeah, love it, Hedge Knight. Well done. Wrong zero. I should do that hand, shouldn't I? There you go. That's better. Strong zero. I need to create a little animated zero that I can go. Yeah, maybe a job I could do. Make an animation. There we go. There's a little thing I can do. Good. Glad I've said that. Right. Yeah. So thank you very much for that. Love it as always. A lot of your stuff. He was the guy who painted up the Bolton army in the pink and did the sausages and everything from a few weeks ago, and included Rickon getting shot in the back as he runs, emulating the moment from the film, TV show. So thank you again for that. That's an Outrider, not a Hedge Knight. Yes, technically it is an Outrider sculpt. Battle for Middle Earth 1, better than Battle of... Yeah, I meant the miniatures game, but you're right, I called it Battle for Middle Earth. Battle of Middle Earth 1 was... And Battle for Middle Earth is the name. I can't remember. I'm not going to go down that route anyway. So yeah, anyway, there we go. I've clearly gone insane in my ramblings. I've forgotten what I'm even talking about. No, I haven't. So, a lovely model there. Thank you very much. Anyone who else wants to send pictures and remember, if you paint anything up, get some sweet zeros, by all means send them through. All right then. Strategy battle game. That's it. Middle Earth strategy battle game. Thank you, John. All right then. So, next thing. The team tournament, the online team tournament, has now ended. that has ended up with the French team, of which I'm on the French team. So Decipher Kidnatos was the name we ended up going with. Going uh, four wins, 4 series wins, 1 series loss, with 109 points total. Second place to TP Nitsa, Brett, Bob, Larks, Bloodraven, and Van Van. With 3 wins, 2 draws, but on 90 points. Yeah, overall, great to play in the event. But it really showed me, in my opinion, of course, the problem somewhat with a team event like this. I ended up going 5-0, and nearly every game was crushing. I think it was one non-crushing game. But this was kind of the problem at the same time, in that I wasn't being paired each round with necessarily the best player, because that's not how the pairings worked. And I'm not sitting here and saying that I should be paired with the best player. I'm not suggesting that another player couldn't be. It's not really what I'm getting at. But me and Jolbar were going into the last round having won all 4 of our games. And we then get some pairings, and we somewhat dictate the pairings. We've been in the lead throughout. But in the team event, we aren't being paired up with people who are same records as us or similar. We are just being paired into other players. And we did it based on faction matchups, or that's what our captain Decipher decided to do. And this led to a little bit of a problem, in a sense of, like, people were throwing games, and I know they were. Like, I played players, and they said as much, admitted as much publicly, that they wanted to put their weakest player up against a good player because they knew they'd lose it anyway. Which is fine. Like, I'm not complaining about that. Your team, you choose what you want to do. But it made me think about team events, and it made me think about, well, yeah, is it better throwing someone to the dogs and try and just win your other ones than it is giving all players good games? And that's not to say the players I played against didn't give me good games, but and I don't know about the case for Joel Barr as well, but I think it's interesting we don't pair up people with similar rates as we do in other teams, or compared to other teams. And that's because of faction matchups, it's because of records, it's because of how you feel the game wants to go, game modes, things like that. But I think, for me, I think it would be way better if they paired in teams. You actually were more inclined to pair your strongest player against their strongest player. I think there should be more. And when I say strongest, by the way, I mean the one performing the best in the event. So you're using the teams as a way of doing the Swiss draw, if that makes sense. Kurt says you see the same thing in baseball with pitcher lineups. Yeah. And it's not. I'm not sitting here complaining about it by any stretch. Please don't take this as a complaint about my experience of the event or anything like that. Not at all. It's more of an observation. There were games, there were players, and I'm playing a tournament game. I'm gonna play properly, but I understand when someone doesn't know potentially an aspect of the faction or how certain interaction works. That's fine. But when you're playing against someone who is, by all means, a decent player, but they know, like, they've literally come into the game thinking they've already lost, and yeah, in like 2 or 3 rounds, it's game over. And there wasn't really much to be said about the game in terms of, like, oh, one player did this and there was a counter move or anything like that. It was just, no, this game very much just was over very quickly. And I guess my thing would be, those players didn't get the opportunity to learn. They didn't get the opportunity to play against someone of roughly full skill. But also, I don't know about how they feel about that game. Do they feel, oh yeah, great, I got absolutely thrashed by a decent player? Or, and I've got something to learn from that, or is it just kind of like, yeah, I got thrown to the wolves and I died, and oh well, surprise, on to the next week, which is like not what I would want to instill in people playing the game, right? That's not what I would want people to derive and get from the game. I don't know. That's just me. Something worth thinking about with team event games. Maybe something people could try in the future with their team events. Just pair the best player in terms of performance from that team against the best performer of the other team. And that way you're less likely going to have vastly different matchups unless a team is just good, right? If a team is just far better than another team, you will get that. But that's okay, right? Again, that's okay as well. Just a thought. Go push out there to people running team events in the attempt to make them a little bit more balanced. Maybe it's a little bit more becoming, maybe a little bit more accessible as well. All right then. All right, so that was that. That was good fun. Yeah, it's I enjoyed playing in it. It was I'm not a big fan of online events, to be honest, at the moment. Not not disparaging the people running them by any stretch. And I still enjoy playing on TTS, but I only actually enjoy playing games when I want to play a game, not having to mentally prepare and play a tournament game at a specific time. I'm much more inclined to be like, you know what? I've got 2 or 3 hours. I want to play a game. Rather than, oh, I've got a game at 7 o'clock tonight or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. I'm going to have to prepare for it. And TTS events mean that you have to do that second rather than the first ad hoc style, which I kind of prefer myself at the moment. I feel better playing against good players. You get better excuses. It's true, Valimore. You also learn more, right? That's actually the thing that hopefully a better player teaches you things about the game. So yeah. Are you saying we should subject the new to hazing? Oh god. God no. That's like the worst thing I could possibly imagine. But yes, also do it. No, don't. Right, yeah, so that's that. So I guess on to our meat and potatoes then. 2024. We mentioned the new units, we've mentioned the new US Nationals, we've mentioned the potential new patch coming out that's indicated. What else do I want 2024 to have? Well, I noticed that Hits and Crits have been doing some videos along with Randall from oh my god, the name escapes me. It's gonna kill me. It's gonna do my absolute nutting now. I can't remember. Oh god, that's bad, isn't it? It's bad that I've forgotten a fellow content creator. Imperial Minis. There you go. The name's back. So Hits and Crits have been doing videos with Imperial Minis, going through factions and stuff like that. I think what I'm looking to do is I think it's been on my mind, and I've kind of wanting to do it for about 6 months now. But I might just do it and worry about the quality later on. I want to do a breakdown video of like truly going into a faction, and not talking like a faction like deep dive or anything like that, but similar. I want to go into and show like, here's a unit. Here's where I would and wouldn't consider this unit in terms of commanders and attachment options. So like, you'd get a unit and it would be like, good attachments to run with this unit are the following. Mediocre attachments to run with this, like things you could try, are these. And you're probably not, it's not worth running this attachment in this unit in these. And that would also include commanders as well. So like, which commanders would you this unit in, which would you not? And like really doing a real deep dive into every faction in relation to what would you use this with and what you wouldn't use it with, and giving then people a visual of like, I want to use bear riders, bang, I'll just go to the bear riders, for example, and I can see that they've got like a green rating here, maybe a yellow rating with this commander, and a red rating with this one. Like, not worth playing in red, or like, challenge accepted moment. And like this commander's green, right? So that's like if I'm picking this commander, then boom, 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 and then once that's done, the plan would be to then be able to use it as a kind of like guidance piece on building lists for newer players. Of like, if you can just go to Victarion and you can see here's all the units that you would use in a Victarion list, and here's also all of the units with which Victarion sits very well in or mediocrely well in. I don't know. It's something like that. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know how the content works. But it's like a true list building guide piece of like trying to get people to familiarize themselves. Like, someone asked me before, like, what do we look at in building or what do we think about? And I did it with Free Folk a little bit, in that I was kind of rating units on points value. And I was like, actually, yeah, maybe this is a more interesting way of doing it. What would I consider taking for 4 points? What would I consider taking for 5? What would I consider for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? And then it's not always the same option, right? It's like, well, for 7, I'm not going to be inclined to think of Berserkers and Mormon Veteran, like the olden days. But I'm potentially more inclined for 7 points of thinking She-Bears with Rickham. That's more my yellow. But actually, for 7 points, what I'm probably more interested in, at 7 points in Starks, might be Golden Company Crossbowmen, for example. It's stuff like that I think would be very interesting to see and to see how that works out. Cryptic says maybe we can finally get the Pit Rake of Trannerman trackers where it ought to be. Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. We'll see. I mean, they're not picked enough, are they? Rannoch. He does, yeah, Big Top does do something similar. But he doesn't do it with the faction. He does it with units. And he's like, oh, you could use it with this. Which is fine. Like, his is much more, it's much more kind of light and surface level. And that's not to say what he does isn't useful for players. But it doesn't really dive into the depths of the whole faction and doing it with every unit of that faction, which is what I would look to do it with. This wouldn't be short content. I don't even know if it would be videos, or it might be worth making like an interactive, like almost tech tree, if you will, of units versus combos that you could take them in. I don't know. That would be good, wouldn't it? An interactive thing where you would just like click on a commander and then it suggests like good units with it. And almost making me want to build a website to do this, but no, I'm not going to do that. I've neither the skill nor the time. Yeah, just had more. See, there's always more things you could do with this. Always more things you could do, and once you've got an idea, rolling with it and creating more things with it is always. Crowdingman 32%. Nice big rate. Still needs to be higher. With people that successfully use his army in a competitive way would be discussion. Yes, yeah, Valimore. That's always going to be a positive if someone's used the army successfully. But this actually goes back all the way back to, it's kind of the opposite of what I was saying before, right? And people who've used armies successfully will all end up fielding the same lists. No, so this is the thing, John. This is actually what I hope it avoids, right? Because this is actually kind of, again, it's the opposite of what I said before, but it's what I'm trying to get away from, is that the whole point of suggesting these things would be to say, here's what has done well with this unit, but actually, here's what you could consider. Right, it's the mid-tier yellow stuff that I'd be interested in expanding a lot more, if you will, of the kind of like, no one's tried this, and in theory it should be good. Give it a try. Work it in. There'll be some obvious stuff that's like, don't run this with this, that's like bad. Avoid it. It's not that it's not that it's even interesting to try this. It just isn't a good idea. But yeah, like, it would be there for people if they want to kind of like, which they already do anyway, of like basically list copying or whatever. People do that anyway. It's all there on stats for people to do that, but it's a way of kind of like saying, remember when I said there's a huge amount of this game that just don't experiment with properly? Well, here's a unit like Cranagman Trackers, and here's a bunch of attachments, for example, that you could try with this unit that I don't think get tried enough. Just an example. Yeah, it's just something to think about, really. Don't know how useful it would be, or even if it's any good. Maybe it does just lead us into the same insanity that we currently have. But it's just bringing some freshness to the game in the way people build and think about the game. And that's what I want. I want people to have fun. I want people to enjoy the game, and the balance is good. And ironically, it's almost become a game that's become stale because of it. And that might just be me. Maybe it is just me, and I think someone said it earlier. Sometimes a person's done everything they wanted to do in the game, and that's just that. It may not be about the game, maybe it's about the person. Maybe that's true for myself, Carlo. I don't know. Highlighting combos or underused things that counter current meta would be quicker and more effective. Yeah, definitely. Discussing things that don't get used enough beat the things that exist. I guess the problem is that beating current meta is kind of meta in itself, right? If something is good enough at beating the current good thing, then it will get C play and get used. Mr. Matt says the math around attachments would fundamentally change. Otherwise, there's not much in that yellow category for most units. Yeah, that is true. That is actually the truth of the matter, is that the game doesn't incentivize taking attachments still, right? We're still not in the world of like attachments being fun. Yeah. Start playing teams, big battles, custom rules. The game has so much more to offer outside of footprint standard. Yeah, it does. Like, it does. You're right. You're not wrong. Like, it's not. I'm not saying the game is bad or the game is boring, per se. I'm just simply saying that the game doesn't incentivize doing cool stuff at the moment. It doesn't matter what game modes you play, and it doesn't really matter what custom scenarios you play or custom rules you play. The game itself isn't favoring cool shit. That's the simple truth. People have to be open for others to build. That's true. You can throw something out there and immediately get shot down. It's sad, actually. Yeah. That's the other problem, isn't it? Like, people are too stuck into the idea and the concepts that they normally go for. People don't spread their ideas and wings that much. Jojenry looks awesome, but hard price to pay for it. Yeah, good example. That being said, perfectly playable in my opinion. I've run them in lists back in the day. I do like good old 2-point Jojen myself. One of my favourite attachments to run if I can afford it. Maybe I should go back to that list. It's been a while since I've run this, and bearing in mind this is a little bit memey. All right. Yeah. Don't want that. You want other. There we go. I can't remember if I did this actually. Did I? I think I did it this way. Something like been donkey's years since I had this list. That might even be that. And I think that's it. Mira's in one of them. Howland's in the other. And then we run. Can't run the 6-point Eddard. Ideally, you'd run 6-point Eddard, but he was used to be 5 back then, which is why you ran the list. So you probably have to cut Mira, which kind of sucks. Or you just drop out this one for that, which is fine. And then you run Eddard and run Varus nowadays, unfortunately. There you go. This is not the same list I used to run, but it's very similar list I used to run. There you go. Start Bowman with Howland Reed Commander. Talisman Shields with Mira. Start Bowman with Jojen. Crown and Trackers. Aria, Eddard, Varus. Boom. Is this a good list? Nah, probably not. Is it a fun list to play? Probably. You're probably thinking, what on earth is Eddard Stark doing in here? Partially so you could heal the Talisman Shields up a lot. Partially because it's funny, because you have a bunch of stuff that should fail morale tests, and then you make it not fail morale tests, which is funny. Yeah, it's just a list that says I'm going to control the shit out of you. I used to run double Tully Sworn Shields with it, which is why it used to be different. This probably isn't very good. I do not want people coming away from this being like, oh, Mickey said this is a great list and it works really well. And I'm like, no, this is not a great list. This is just a list I enjoy and I think is fun. That doesn't make it good, right? You'll probably run this list actually with actual interesting. I won. Good. Yes. This is it, isn't it? So. Just had a thought. So Jockin Widower, something I don't like the Stormcrow Archers. I don't think Stormcrow Archers are worth taking. They are. I understand why people think they're good. I just personally don't think they are. But you could run. I think how we fill out these last 10, 11 points. Let's not do Tully Cavaliers, right? I mean, the obvious answer is to stick a unit Tully Cavaliers on. You remove Jaqen and you put Dancer. There you go, boom. But then you've got like, I think this list is probably fine, right? This list is probably fine. You could do something like that, right? Stormcrow Mercs or Chronosha, we've seen that combo before with Shaggy Dog. You're jocking in the Dark Bowman for the Overwatch. Classic combo in Starks. It gains you the Widower with Tully Stone Shields. You have the Auto Pass. You have the extra dice for the Stormcrow Mercs with the intention of just throwing the Stormcrow Mercs forward with the Rikonosha pairing, which I know is expensive. Ooh, we would lose Shaggy Dog, but let's deviate. Add GCS. Yeah, add GCS. Add GCS. Yeah, exactly. Crap. Absolute crap. I'm not saying GCS are crap. I'm saying that it's crap that people feel like that's the way to go. Ooh, Dauntless, Iron Resolve, Brynden Tully. Who cares about house affiliation? I don't know why they made Brynden Tully 2-point attachment house Tully affiliation. This literally does nothing, and I do not know why it's in the game. And they've never released anything that's Tully affiliated that isn't Tully Commander. It really annoys me. It really annoys me he has affiliation that is not relevant. But yeah, something like this. I feel like I build random start lists all the time on thing. Could we run 2-point Great John? The last is funny. Morale test. Huh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we can do this. Yeah, let's bum off Shaggy. Let's bum off Sansa, that's rubbish. Yeah. We need one more unit though. Ah, we really needed Shaggy in the slot. Hurts. Let's dump the Cavaliers. I like the Cavaliers. We could probably run House and Ravages in this list. I'm at 7 points. Let's just take Varys because Varys is a good option. We need. Yeah, we've got 10 points left, which is fine. I'm just going to stick in House Umber Berserkers, Rickon and Osha and Shaggy just for now. That'll do. No Cav, but let's go. Stormcrow Mercs with Rickard Karstark. Nah. Unfortunately, that doesn't work as well. You need the Tully Cavaliers. That saves you 2 points, so we'll take enemy Jaqen. And we'll take our good friend, the Winterfell Guardian. I think. Yeah, we'll take the Winterfell Guardian. His card affiliation bonus is so relevant. It's so it matches. Needing affiliation bonuses and nothing. Crap. Okay, there we go. There's a list I'm more tempted to try out, and that is a neutral attachment in a Stark unit, a Stark attachment in a neutral unit, and a neutral attachment in a Stark unit. Isn't it brilliant? This is mostly meme. You could probably dump Lyanna, and you can also dump Jaqen as well. And yeah, fuck it. Let's just take Rob. This is 100% meme territory. But the concept is uncontrollable rage means that the Stormcrow mercenaries have to roll a 7+ morale check. Which is fine, otherwise it's a 6-inch charge, right? You equip them with Brothers in Arms. Yeah, you didn't see Jojen. I know, right? I ended up not using Jojen in the list. That I've just had a think about. This is a completely different idea though. So Rickard Karstark makes the 7-up morale, which you want to fail, right? But if you pass, you heal one because you're in short range of the Tully Cavaliers, which is very funny when you're automatically in charge range anyway, because you don't need the auto 6. So you're just taking morale checks, completely unrequired, but every time you activate, just being able to heal one. You have Rob and you have Jacken. The intention of this is to obliterate someone as fast as you can. And it gets even better because you have outflank on Jockin. Jockin Bowman, or even Widower Tully Cavalier, Tully Sworn Shields if you want to, going to outflank with Rob, and Rob brings them on with horses. This might be insanity, it also might genuinely be the funnest thing I can think of. The annoying thing is that Rob Stark says enemies charged in the flank or rear become panicked or vulnerable. I don't really want to be charging with the bowman. Something like that. There you go. There's a completely made up piece of garbage. But I bet you've never seen a list like that. I mean, it's still got Tully Cavaliers, Winterfell Guardian. I still want to move away from this 9-point package, really. If I could. Could we? I mean, we could. No, we need the Tully Cavaliers, unfortunately, for the rally banner, for the Rickard Stormcrow Merc Jocking combo to really work for us. There you go. So there's something bizarre and stupid. It's the kind of thing that I would gladly run. And probably not win any games with it. I don't know. Telling people to build bad lists, right? This is the problem. I'm telling people to run like bad lists because in the name of exploring new ideas, but like, yeah, don't run bad lists, right? Experiment with them, come up with new ideas. I just saw a combo that I quite like the look of, and I built a list around it. Is it a good combo? No. Is it a combo that's particularly effective? No. Could I make this list better? Yes. Do I care? No. Because the whole point is it's building around an idea or a concept, and I want to make that idea or concept work rather than just doing what everyone else does. Because anyone can do what everyone else does. What's the point in doing what other people can do? Yes, an element is like proving that you're good enough to do that, but like, do your own thing, make it your own, make it work. You know? Play the game and have fun. Exactly. I mean, I'll still want to play competitively. I still want to play good people. And I'm not going to lie, Anthony, mirror matches, meta units are boring. Not entirely. I think it's boring when it's all you ever see. That's actually the thing. Is I enjoy those top tier meta games sometimes the most. But it's when it's the only thing you ever seem to experience with players. Like, oh, you bought a Jockin list, but it's just the same thing I always see. Or, oh, you bought this list, but it's still the same thing I always see. No one's really truly pushing the boat out, even with new stuff. They're not actually trying anything super new. They're just taking existing things and tweaking them slightly. Which is fine, and that's okay, but like, not conducive to really super fun stuff. I have built woefully few lists this patch, I've just realised. I have built 45 lists this patch, which is tiny a reference compared to the hundreds that people normally build. I've not even deleted any. I very rarely delete my lists. And it's really funny because that was the first list I built. I built 2 list pair, a Varamir competitive list and a Steer competitive list. And that Steer competitive list is legitimately the competitive list I still use today. That's hilarious. First thing I built in the patch, these 2 things. And that is the competitive list I have used in every tournament. Well, in all the tournaments I played Free Folk, and insane. Tells you how much the new patch in season 3 really did to list building, didn't it? I built this list and then have used it the whole season. New Varamir, that's the one I ended up going for, I believe. Here's the other one. Yeah. My other pair. There's a few lists in. Only the second Varamir list I made though. Yeah. Be creative. Do fun things. Getting creative is more fun for both myself and my opponent. My plan once I get an issue with a jockey attachment of Roderick. Yeah, go for it. Sounds like I've never played against Varamir Mag with 5 insignia. I mean, I have, Anthony. I have. But like, the problem is I've done that and I've beaten it and I've just basically said to people, don't do this. It's bad. This is why it's bad. This is why what you're doing isn't healthy, but it's also why you're limiting your own growth. Because I think when people lose with lists that they think are unbeatable, they realize that actually they're not good at the game. And what they realize is the list that they've run beats people, not them. And like I've done that a lot. People playing Free Folk and you just make them look like fools. Because they're not playing well, they're playing lists that people don't know how to beat. Which is frustrating. It's frustrating that those things exist. But yeah. Not something I've ever had the well, not saying I've ever needed to worry too much about myself, because I just beat it and then that's it. I'm done with it. And they don't hang around a lot in the competitive scene in the UK, certainly. I've never seen anyone run one since a long time ago now. Anyway, not the point. There we go. I just deleted that joke. That jockey. That was clever, wasn't it? Yeah, just some ideas, just some thoughts on list building, and I always default to Starks. I always enjoy building lists with them, but like, you could do it with anyone. You could do it with basically any and all factions. I really hate the change to Stag Knights, by the way. Making them not 777 is actually really jarring. Makes me always want to play them as 777, but they aren't. This one. Yeah. Dale Seaworth. He's in Faithful. There you go. I enjoyed this list, actually, by the way. This is a Davos Seaworth in Lightbringers, Stag Knights, Faithful Dale, Edge Knights, Dragonstone Noble, Varus Patchface Shara. I enjoyed that. Kind of same ran every end of season. Kind of. It's getting boring, give us a patch. Yeah. I think players are boring as well, though. That's actually the thing, though, Nactal Thomas. I think it's not the game. I do think it's players. I think players, and it's a combination. Players aren't creative. Not and in play, in list building, anything. There are not that many players who are truly that creative, and there are also not enough players who are willing to be creative fully. They want to stick to principled ideas and concepts because they haven't found things better, which is fine. But then they just stick to it like a dogma almost, and it's like, yeah, but you've done it. Like, I know for a fact, I know wholeheartedly that my list pair combo for Free Folk, for example, is what I will now play in Free Folk, which is fine. That doesn't mean I think other lists don't exist. They're no good. I think it's the best pair. I think there are other options. I think there are other things you can do. I don't do them because I've played a lot of Free Folk, right? I've played a lot of Free Folk. So I don't do them very often. But I play those other lists at my local event, like my local things all the time. I play these random Mug 8 list. Here you go. is a mag list that you wouldn't think mag with 1/1, Savage Giant, Varamir, Wolfpack, then Shadowcat's rubbish, let's not take it. I'll go down to 8 activations and run Mance Bard instead. Boom. Stuff like that. I'm not the only. It's not unique, but it's something. Torment Infantry build. This was a fun one. Playing into completely uber meta John 8 with Tormund, CDS, Rattleshirt, and Harmer's Bannerman inside Bone Law's Chosen, Harmer in Then's, Walrus Clan Chieftain, and Frozen Shore Warriors. Hunters. That's a hilarious list. Is it good? No. It's fun. Where is it? Where's the other one? This Tormund list. This is another one that run John 8. This nearly beat a John 8 actually. Marks John 8 with Tormund, Then's, Bone Law Chosen, Rattleshirt, Harmer, Mag, Freefoot Raiders with Harmer, Lady Val, Craster, Grow. So yeah. Played in the ELO tournament this weekend. 5 out of 10 players were Targs. ELO tournaments are a fun way to make. Yeah, definitely. They are 100% are. But like, ELO tournaments shouldn't be what we use as an alternative to mix up the meta. Arguably, ELO tournaments are what we should be trying to run all the time. And it's actually a little thing people perhaps didn't know. But we want to incentivize people winning with the worst stuff. Because that means they're the best player. What Carlo has always wanted is he wants to incentivize people trying hard, worse stuff, do well with it. He wants to actually inspire people to be creative. And one of the ways that he found of doing that was creating ELO tournaments, because it was like a tournament way of going, please be creative. I don't know if it works. Not really my place to say, but that's what he spoke about before. It's what he's told me. It's what he's told other people. He wants people to see ELO and these numbers here. As more than just that ranking. It should be a way of balancing a game or making you play weaker stuff. A lot of people don't. This is why I'm actually the most annoyed I've ever been in this patch. I think I said the other week, I've got Greyjoy sat on the shelf as the second faction that I like fully own. Because I don't own that much physical stuff, right? I'm not a huge collector of the miniatures themselves. And I really wanted to play a second faction more, Greyjoys being the one I wanted to play. But with them being a better faction, it is actually harder in terms of ELO. It is harder for me to win with Free Folk at the moment. So I should play Free Folk, which is crazy. I am nerfing myself by playing Free Folk than I am if I picked up, say, Greyjoys. Which is mental to me. Absolutely mental. Because I don't think Greyjoys are good. And yeah, I've been tempted to pick up other factions, looking at this list here. Got some commanders or factions that aren't any good. Let's go to who's currently doing the actual worst. Apart from freaking Boltons. Grey Worm. Okay. Grey Worm. Bruce Lannister. That's hilarious. Harmer Vanguard, that low. Wow. Time for me to play some Harmer then. But yeah. Anyway. I've just kind of rattled on about a bunch of stuff, haven't I? 2023 coming to an end. Bunch of stuff happening in 2024. Loads of cool events. New TTS tournament kicks off in early January. If you want to be part of that, jump online. We've got the Lowlands Grand Tournament in March. We've got Welsh Nationals, Welsh GT coming up as well. That's in March, I think, or April. Hamburg, early March for Welsh GT. Hamburg event in February. Lots of these cool GTs and national events going on around. Ballymore, if you don't know what ELO is, honestly, just type in ELO into Google. Sorry, I'm not going to explain it tonight. And Elo Arpad is the guy you should be seeing and what he devised for chess. Carlo has a variation of ELO used on the website that he uses, that we use with the data to generate the numbers that we generate. Calculate, I should say, generate. But yeah, so let's have a look at some stuff. Let's have a look at events. There's an event on the 23rd of December in Valencia. Those Valencians absolutely love what they do. Drone Throwdown happening in Hurricane, West Virginia. Place, apparently. And these are this weekend. Next weekend, there's one, Hear Me Roar 8 in Braunschweig in Germany. The Deutsburg people putting on the Halfman's Trophy on the 29th as well. Stuff happening on the 30th in Germany again. Serbia, that's cool. And in West Sacramento, all happening. January as well. Season 1 League happening in New Jersey. Brotherhood of Broken Banners. And some stuff in early Jan as well. Yeah. There's some events happening over Christmas time. That's alright. Dustin asks, is Carlo still working on a list ELO rating? I thought I heard something about that previously. Short answer is no. He's working on the rebuild of the website and doing some things, which I will mention actually. The stats builder, it's not broken. Okay, before anyone's like, oh, it's broken, there's loads of issues with it. There are issues with it. It's not broken. It's kind of designed / implemented this way. In short, Carlo knows that there is a bunch of images that are in the wrong places on Stats Builder at the moment. The way that images are generated for the site is now changed. We no longer take War Council, or Carlo no longer takes War Council, basically screenshots that have been filtered, right? Which is what I used to do. What he does is he generates the cards in situ, just like War Council does, using CSV files. So in order for him to get a new update, all he needs is the CSV file. Problem is the CSV file and everything else refers to the unit numbers in War Council. There are some units that have been added when we didn't know the numbers, so Carlo guessed, and thus things went wrong. Now that we've gone to this new route of building the cards, the guesses weren't necessarily always correct. So, for example, Varamir here was guessed at being 10-3-1-6, and 10-3-1-6 according to War Council is actually Barok's boar. So there you go. That is why the way they are is the way they are. It is not entirely random. It is not entirely unknown about. It's definitely not unknown about. It's a bug. It's an unintended consequence. He is going to be fixing them, but he has to run certain codes so he doesn't lose data or do anything wrong with it, basically. He'll have to run some code because it's not just... The other thing is these numbers aren't just random. These coded numbers are what is linked to the data behind them. So that 10-3-1-6 is not just the link for old Varamir, but it's also the old link for Varamir Commander in all of the data. So he has to not just change it in one place in the builder, he also has to change the data behind that, which means running a script to do all of the changes, because otherwise he just runs the risk of basically making the site worthless overnight if he does it wrong. So just bear that in mind. I mean, I don't get why ELO tournaments get tags. Low ELO. So ELO tournaments, you get more rewarded by using worse stuff. So more people are tending to take lower rated stuff Valimore. Therefore, Targs would see more play because they're lower rated. Thanks for the streams. Happy New Year. See you Christmas. Yeah, see you later, Carl. You take it easy. Is ELO gain / loss adjusted by the entire list I'm bringing? Just the commander or even just the faction? Commander, Martin. Commartin. Jesus. Commander. Only commander. Faction is just a weighting that the commanders get on top. But that's factored into some stuff. It's not factored into it. Your commander rating is factored into what you see. Your commander / faction is what you see on the power ranking stat page. This is what's used. This number here for ELO. Yep. 73938. Okay. And that 73938 is a rating of 19 for Dennis Mallister plus the Night's Watch rating, which generates these. So internally, Dennis Mallister's only 19 above Night's Watch average. He is 73 in overall stats. Baylor, 25 over. There you go. Hopefully that gives you a bit more to go on. All right then. Yes. So tournaments, plenty of tournaments coming up. One more message / thing. Obviously LVO is coming up in January as well, which is cool. And there's a few tickets left for the main event at ELO. So if you do want to go to ELO or are looking to go, there's a few tickets left. They had sold out, and then a few people sent back and things like that. I've also got a few pictures to show you. We've already had some models, but Willy Monk sent some more through, so I'll show you these. This is a Stark Army that won Best Painted at an event in East Windsor in Connecticut. We've seen that Happy Tree before, I think, which he uses as a tactics board. But yeah, lovely painted Free Folk Army. Very nice. Looks really nice together as well. And if anyone can spy something in the background, we'll have a look at that in a second. But NCUs. Absolutely lovely. Special characters. Some more. Absolutely lovely. Love that. Kind of a faded grey look as well. Really ties the army together. We got a best painted miniature was actually the Zarozo and Daxos here, which is really nicely painted. So yeah, congratulations there to Greg. Yeah, love it. Now, this one. People might like this, I don't know. This is a Bolton army painted up as they were doing a night raid. You notice it's not based. Which is, fair enough. But the OSL effect on the Boltons here is really nice. And to give you perspective in game, the fire activation markers as well, I think is brilliant. I think that's really cool. And yeah, absolutely love this. There you go. More pictures of that army. I really like the effect. I think it's really cool. Even though I would personally consider them probably incomplete with the basing, I still think that looks really nice. And it's a combination of either being incredibly hard, incredibly hard to do, but also very clever and someone skilled doing it. So kudos for doing that. It is lovely. There we go. Lovely Boltons for you. Boltons in the fire. Oh, that's very clever. Yeah, isn't it? Good. Love it. All right then. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode, coming in at just below 2 hours. I appreciate everyone tuning in again, as usual. I wish everyone has a great Christmas period. Be that celebrating Christmas or or anything else that you may celebrate over the Christmas period, so Hanukkah and the like. I know I'll be away. I'll be my partner's families for Christmas this year, which is what we normally do for a few days. And yeah, I hope any games people play are great fun as well. I'll be back in the new year, probably. I don't know when that will be. I don't know if I'll do one on the New Year's Eve, as it say, or New Year's Day, or whatever it is. So yeah, I'll definitely get myself out there and get myself a new episode for the new year. Maybe, depending on if things go well, might have a new intro. Depends on what happens. But yeah, it's appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciated everyone's time today. As I say, have a happy Christmas period. Have a happy holiday if you are on holiday. And I will see you. Yeah. Take it easy, guys. Enjoy the rest of 2023. See you in 2024.
Ready? Aim! There's too many! Anyone see my mammoth? Stubby!